Okay, hello everybody. So here we are with another guest and another installment in our Industry Insider series. I've got Dean Krippaehne on the call, and just to give a little bit of context, this whole series, the aim of this thing is to pick the brains of successful people in the industry, and both on the creative side and on the business side, and hopefully get some insights into what made them successful. Plus, hopefully, to get some tips into what you can do to accelerate your journey and maybe avoid some of the mistakes that they made along the way. So before I give his full bio, first off, thanks, Dean Krippaehne, for being on the call.
Thanks for having me.
It's a treat. Yeah, Dean and I met, I don't even know if you'd remember this, Dean, but I was at my first Taxi Road rally probably a dozen years ago, and we were both in the check-in lineup back when it was at the one on Highland.
Yeah. I absolutely remember that.
Yeah, and in that time, I've watched him become one of the most prolific and well-known and respected purveyors of production music for film, TV, commercials, and kind of any media that is real or imagined. His bio is awfully modest. I mean, I've gone to Dean's website. If you go to deankrippaehne.net, and he lists a handful of shows, but I think if you were honest, there'd probably be a never-ending scrolling web page of credits. His music has been featured on everything from big network shows to strangely titled reality and cable shows. But just briefly, Oprah Winfrey Show, Late Night with Seth Meyers, Duck Dynasty, Parenthood, The Today Show, Vampire Diaries, One Life to Live, and that's just a smattering. So, I mean, when you think about all of the places that your music has been, Dean, how does that make you feel? Are you a little bit gobsmacked?
It is. It's satisfying. It's satisfying to have worked, put in enough all these years, and actually see a real success from it. It's anytime you work hard for a number of years and can actually see things. The plants you've planted, the seeds you've planted, see them grow and see them bloom. It's satisfying.
Yeah. So on top of all of that, somehow you've managed to write 3 books: Demystifying the Cue, Demystifying the Genre, Write, Submit, Forget, Repeat is the most recent one, and a gold and platinum record as a songwriter. I mean, this is a resume that is rare. In fact, it's a rare resume that would sort of make himself available to be able to do a little show like this. So I really appreciate you being here today, Dean.
Thanks, my pleasure.
So I want to start. I mean, what I'd like to do, I'm going to definitely dig into the production music side of things and what it takes to be successful in film and TV music. But your books. So I'll just go through them real quickly here. Demystifying the Cue, which I think was the first. Mm-hmm. It's basically, tips and strategies for learning to write and record and produce music, I think mostly for media in your home studio. So it's like life hacks and tips and tricks. Yep. What was the experience of writing your first book like? By now you're probably, you've greased the wheels, but was it hard to sit down and sort of distill what is worth sharing and what isn't?
It really came out of many conversations with people like yourself and other of our peers in this business. I kept learning things. And learning how to create better cues and how to work in the studio better, and everything production music related. And I really didn't sit out with the intention to write a book. I'd started a blog and was just doing about little snippets, like 700 words on one topic. And after I got 30 or 40 of those blogs done, I went, maybe this could be a book if I refined it a little bit. And so really I was 6 months into it, I think, before I thought this might be a book that could be useful to people. My hope is that through some of the mistakes I made and through some of the tricks I learned, that people that are starting out or that I can take maybe 2 or 3 years off of their learning curve with the information that with the stupid stuff I've done,
Right.
just enlightening. Don't do this. Go this way.
Right.
So yeah. So it was. Yeah. It didn't really start out. I didn't start out with the intent to write a book, but that's what it became.
Yeah. Well, there's some. I mean, in this little niche in music, there's a lot of stuff that isn't sort of the path that a traditional songwriter would take. And I think, it's obviously a very transactional and volume type world where you need to be able to crank out a lot of music. You need to be reasonably skilled at your tools and be able to, churn out a usable piece of music every few days. And I think that the book does a great job of sort of underscoring that. The second book, Demystifying the Genre, which I think was a deeper look into just a handful of the most commonly used genres in film and TV music. I think for this audience, the write, submit, forget, repeat, that one seems to be a wider look at what it means to be creative and how to be able to sort of summon that creative energy, like a muscle, like exercising it like a muscle and being able to be a prolific writer like you are. Maybe you can give a bit of a context to what inspired that book.
There's like many people, I know a lot of creative people, and I know a lot of them in my business, in the music side of things, but I also know artists and visual artists and actors and entrepreneurs, and it seems that that everybody that is working which all artists are entrepreneurs. They're all creating, they all have their own business, and we're creating some thing, some baby, some product, if you want to call it that. There seems to be similar, if not identical, thought processes that we go to, things that trip us up when our thinking, things that we can learn to overcome to do a better job at that and not get trapped in certain, I'll never make any money. I'm horrible. Nobody likes, some of the pitfalls of self-doubt that we fall into. And I had learned a lot, I don't want to go too deep into this because it'll probably bore people, but I learned a lot. 25 years I was diagnosed with panic disorder, among a few other mental illness type things, and went into psychotherapy for that, and learned a lot about how to control your thinking, which is one of the ways. Cognitive therapy is the way out of some of those depression or anxiety type issues. Yeah. And so, and years ago, it's probably been in the late 90s, early 2000s, I had a website that I ran for a decade called Joe Panic, that was specifically to help people with those problems. And I just got to thinking, knowing all the people that you and I know in these businesses, these entrepreneur businesses, a lot of people, while they may not be clinically depressed, or they may not be clinically have panic or anxiety problems, they suffer with those things. Mm-hmm. And so I just got to thinking, I'm going to put this stuff in a book for some of these techniques to overcome some of those negative thought patterns that we have, in a book that everybody can use and everybody can benefit from. To me, it's not always what artists want, but I think it's what we all need. This mm-hmm. is the deep stuff to help us not only do our craft better, but live a better, healthier life. Mm-hmm. So it was that, and I did a broad spectrum of, didn't just do it for music people, but did it for all artists and all creative people, all entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So that's the approach I took. So
yeah, I'm curious about that. I mean, there's been times where, as a writer or even just working with writers, I think that what gets in the way is the constant worry or or feeling that you need to be better than the last thing that you did.
Yeah.
Like this applies maybe more to artists than somebody that's just having trouble getting out of bed in the morning and going to work. But
Yeah.
we're always judging ourselves, and we always feel like people are judging us based on the last thing that we did.
Yeah.
And so there's this bar that is constantly being raised. And there's definitely some anxiety and some fear that I'm going to sit down and write a song, and what if it's crap?
Yeah. Well, I think we all experience that. Very common from what I hear is I still experience this on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis. I'll worked in the studio all day. I'll maybe be wrapping things up and get ready to shut down. But before I do, I'll listen to what I've done for the day, the song or the cue, and I'll listen to it and I'll go, that sucks. Why am I in this business? And and if I'm not careful, I'll turn everything off. I'll be depressed all the way until I go to bed at night. Right, and then I'll get up the next day, come down, turn everything on, and listen to it again and go, that's actually pretty good. And the reverse. I'll be at the end of the day when I'm finishing up, I'll listen to something. I'll go, I'm a freaking genius. This is great. I'm better than the Beatles. And then I'll go to bed just all happy because of my thought process. Get up the next morning and listen to it and go, man, I really got to work on this. This is just not there yet. So, we that spectrum of emotions, which is caused by our thoughts, our thinking about stuff. And if we can learn to control those a little more, we can, maybe we won't have as many high highs, but we certainly won't have as many low lows, and you can get to start self-doubting.
Yeah. What's the kind of advice you would give to somebody that is sort of in this analysis paralysis mode? And I think I know what you'll say, and that might be that you just push through it and acknowledge that some of what you do is not going to be Grammy material. But I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, I think that's one. A lot of times we do push through. This isn't quite working. You try to figure out how to make it work, and you change a few things around, maybe the melody, maybe it's a drum track or the groove or whatever, and you try to make it work. But at some point, you don't want to belabor it, and if it's not working, you just put it away, save it. You don't need to throw it away and start something new, something fresh. Or a lot of times what I'll do, if I really get stuck, like maybe I've gone 3, 4, 5 days and I'm just not liking anything, I'll just go to humor. I'll write some just silly nonsense song just to get me loving music again. And oftentimes humor can break through all that stuff, and we figure out, oh wait, I actually enjoy music, and so it puts you in a mode maybe to break through that. Those are a couple of the things that I often do, but definitely, putting something away and starting a new track.
Well, let's back up. Let's and I had a conversation with Steve Barden on this recently, who also is a bit of a production music specialist, and about the about how you don't really, when you set out in a career like this, there's not really a clear path.
Yeah.
Unlike if you go to school and you say, hey, I'm going to be a school teacher one day. Well, okay, you take 4 years of school, and then you become a teacher's assistant for a while, and then eventually you get in with a school board, and boom, 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 boom. It's a very clear-cut ladder, right?
Yep.
I think anybody watching this video that has dedicated themselves to music is probably, laughing to themselves, because you actually don't know you are making progress. You don't know you're going down the wrong road. It's just such a windy, sort of ambiguous path that you end up going down until one day you hope that it amounts to something. I wonder if just even you giving a little bit of your journey in music, if that might add a little bit of color to this, where we can see that, hey, you start doing one thing and then you end up doing another thing completely different than what you expected, and that's all okay.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, when we start out in this stuff, there is no clear path. I mean, how many times I used to say this to all my friends, and if I knew what the target was, I think I could hit it, but I have no idea what the target is. It's like I'm in a dark room and there's a target somewhere, and I'm just shooting, taking musical shots, hoping to hit something. But for me, if I back up and go, I got into music, I think the way a lot of people do. I learned how to play guitar and keyboards at a fairly young age. Did do some college, but even before college, I had already started playing in bands. And so back in the day, many years ago, I was playing clubs, and I think that's how a lot, playing clubs and dreaming of having somebody discover me and getting a big record deal. I think that's the way a lot of us start out. So, and I literally did that. I think I added it up one time. I played over 4,000 nights in clubs over the years.
Wow.
Yes, I am old. Wow. And but that led me to, and then bring that up. I think it was maybe the late 80s, early 90s when recording, still tape recording, still recording on tape machines, but they had these machines that had become affordable that you could have in your home studio. And the one that I first got was a Fostex B16. It was a 16-track Fostex reel-to-reel on half-inch tape. Yep. And I started a little studio business up here in Seattle, or I guess down here in Seattle, talking to you, and took out ads in some of the local music papers, and just started a little recording business on the side. I was still playing nights, still playing 5 or 6 nights a week, but I was recording. So that got me into the whole recordings. I did have some education in recording studios prior to that, so I kind of knew what I was doing. But that got me into the recording thing, and even up as far as the year 2001, 2002, I was still in the wanting to either write songs for major artists, or I had evolved to jazz. I kind of started out in the pop rock vein, but I had evolved to jazz because I figured, well, they accept old people in there, and by the year 2000, I wasn't 15 years old anymore. Yeah. And so I cut a couple of jazz records, had a little indie deal, and was still trying to break through in that way and write pop songs for artists. It wasn't having a lot of success at it, but come around 2003, a company that you and I are both familiar with, Taxi Music. I had joined them and was pitching some smooth jazz. I thought I did a project I thought was called Acid Jazz, and it turns out it was more of a neo-soul type music sound. And Taxi had a ad for neo-soul songs for a TV show. Right. And so I thought, well, these songs are sitting on the shelf. Let me just pitch them. Turns out they got signed by a publisher and went in a show called One Life to Live. I still, oh, cool. I got stuff on a soap opera on TV on ABC down here. And I thought that's really cool. I could brag a little bit about that. But it wasn't until a year later when I got my first royalty check that I realized, one of those songs got played 3 different times in an episode, and each time it paid. And I just kind of quickly did the numbers in my head. Wait, you can make this amount of money on one show that plays 5 days a week. Wait a minute, I need to start learning about this business. And that was the beginning of my journey into production music. And it really wasn't until probably 2006, about the time you and I met, which I think was at the 2006 Taxi Road Rally. Oh, yeah. That was when I really started becoming educated to what this part of the business was about. I really had no idea up to that point, but that's how I evolved into what I'm do mostly now, which is production music. I'm still writing songs. I'm still pitching songs. I'd love to have a Lady Gaga cut. Make more money off of one of those songs, or make a lot of money off of one of those songs.